So we did talk about the best case and the worst case. Best case is the one where the program had to run least possible number of statements, and I would say I would give it another view like execution time was small, or I would say it was quick, it was fast to run the program. Okay, and the worst case would be the one due to which the program had to run maximum possible number of statements. Okay, or I can give it another view like the execution time was large, or I would say the program was slow to give me the result. Okay, and there you go, it was slow to give me the result. So now I'm gonna be writing a program to give you a specific example where we're gonna be seeing how can the best case arise, how can the worst case arise, and we're gonna be seeing this in this program over here. So let me write a simple program. Okay, so this program over here takes statement 1 takes value from user and stores it in A. Okay, so that would be our first statement, and in the second statement I'm gonna be writing an if condition which checks for whether the variable is exactly equal to 0. If it is, then it would say print yes, it is 0. There you go. And I'm gonna close the if block over here, and we are presented with some data again. Like I told you, maybe you are given your data, or in our case we will be creating our hypothetical data which gonna tell us the number of the unit time taken by each of the statement. So well, let me just complete this 4, 5 and 6. So we are given that if takes 1 unit of time, I'm just assuming it, okay, 1 unit of time, and print also takes 1 unit of time. But these are they gave us a little bit complicated situation, and they have also asked us what would be the worst case and what would be the best case. Okay, so they just asked us what would be the worst case. So I'm gonna select a different color. Let's take this one. Best case is, and worst case is. Okay, now again, best case is the one where we had to run the least possible number of statements, or the program execution would be fast, it would be quick, it would be small, and the worst case would be the one where we had to run the maximum possible number of statements and the program execution was large or slow. So what do you think? What do you think? What would be an example, or what would be a scenario that's gonna made this program to run maximum possible number of statements? Maximum. So keep your focus, like I'm asking about maximum possible. So it shouldn't be always like all of these statements the program had to run all of these statements. No, you have to think about the maximum possible, the possibility to run the maximum number of statements. And yeah, to run all of these statements is a possibility, but still it may not be possible always to run all of these statements. So you have to think about, you have to sit down, you have to relax, and you have to ask yourself, what kind of scenario would make this program to run maximum possible number of statements? So observe this program. At least I would say, at least to make it like for the worst case, I would be needing to run this statement. Let me select at least this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, so I would say these are statements. I wouldn't say these are statements. These are just for indentation. They're like their purpose is different, so you can ignore these ones for now, but they have their importance too, but not in this specific example. Okay, so we want to find a scenario where the maximum number of statements are run. So I would say, let me think. Okay, the maximum number of statement would be, I want to run this one too, I want to run this one too, and I want to run this one too. Okay, we are ignoring these one for now. Okay, their importance is a little bit different for this case, so I'm gonna actually remove these. I'm not gonna consider these as statements for now. Okay, let me give you a scenario which is gonna make this program to run the maximum possible number of statements. Let's say the user passes in the value of 0. So the user is sitting in front of the computer. And he types in 1, and the 1 goes inside this variable a. Okay, what's going to happen now? The user gave us the value 1, so we did run one statement. Cool. The control, or now we are on the second statement. What's going to happen here? We are checking whether so I did told you like a is equal to 0. Okay, so we did here we are going to check whether if a is equal to 0, what is the value of a given by user? It was 0, so I have substituted the value 0. So indeed a is 0, so this turns out to be true. When the if returns true, or the result of the if condition is true, then this condition inside these square brackets is gonna run. Okay, so I am now inside the if block. I would say that's the if block over here. That's the if block. It is called if block because whenever the if condition is turned out to be true, this block of code, these statements of line is gonna run. Okay, so we were checking the value of a. We said okay, a is 0 and 0 is exactly equal to 0. That's true. So now we are inside statement 4. So for now, we were able to run this statement, and now we are inside this statement. When the computer runs this statement, it's gonna print, yes, it is 0. So we managed to run the maximum number of statements, right? Like we did run this statement, we did run this statement, and we did run this statement. So we did manage to run the maximum number of statements. Cool. So I would say the worst case is when user passes in the value of 0, because when this case arises, when user passes in the value of 0, all of these statements is gonna run. All of these statements will run. Okay, now let's talk about the best case. We said the best case would be the one where the program had to run the least number of statements. It can be 1, it can be like it can be 0, 1. You have to just think about the least possible. What's the possibility? It's not like you there may be cases where maybe you were able to run none of these statements, okay, or where you were not able to find any case which would lead to the least possible statements, okay. But for this example, you may find a case where you were able to make the program to run least number of statements. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say, yeah, we cannot skip this statement over here, like takes value from user. It will always run. It has to run. Okay, there is no way we're gonna skip it. There is just no way, because the program runs sequentially. It runs one statement by one statement. Okay, so the program is gonna be running this statement for sure. The control is gonna run this statement for sure. There is no way you can skip this statement, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why there is no way you can't skip this statement, and you're gonna find it yourself too. To be honest, you're gonna find it yourself too. Okay, so we're gonna run this statement for sure, and the user, let's say in our case now, the user has passed in the value of 1, and the value of 1 is stored inside of A. Cool. So now we have A is equal to 1, and we were able to run one statement. So now, like I told you, the program runs sequentially, statement by statement. And now we are at the second statement. Here again, it is the if condition. So let's just evaluate what the if condition is going to return us. Okay, so if A is exactly equal to 0, what is the value of A? The value of A is 1. So if 1 is exactly equal to 0, which is false, it's not true, it's false. That is false. When the if condition returns false, the statement inside the if block over here, will be skipped. Okay, the statement print yes it is 0 is not gonna run this time, because the if returned us false. But we did evaluate, so keep in mind that we did run the if condition. We did run that is how we got the result, right? we did run the if condition, but due to the result of the if condition, we will be skipping this statement. So we managed to run this statement, but we did not run this statement. Okay, so the least possible number of statements for the best case is 2, and the maximum possible number of statements is 3. And the reason is, best case is when user passes any value, not just one, any value that is not any value that is not 0, because if the user passes in 2, then you can check the same scenario would arise. It's going to take this statement is going to run, the if condition will check whether 2 is exactly equal to 0, which turns out to be false, and again this statement will be skipped for 3, for 4, for 5, for 6. So we will say that what is the best case? The best case is the case where the program had to run the least number of statements, and it is the case when the user passes any value that is not 0. Okay, and if the user passes in 0, that would be the worst case, and the reason being the program had to run all of these statements or the maximum possible number of statements. So in the next video, what we're going to do is that we're going to be finding the the count for the basic operations when there is a best case and when there is a worst case. So now this time the complexity level has arises. This time we're going to be talking about the best case too and the worst case too. And as you have seen, the best case and the worst case arises just because of these conditional statements. Sometimes they run and sometimes they don't run. Sometimes like this, sometimes a loop runs and sometimes the loop may not run. Sometimes you may I don't know, skip thousands of statements just because of a simple if condition, or you may have to run 1,000 of statements due to a simple condition. So we're going to be seeing that in the following videos.